Biological weapons in the Star Wars galaxy are shown to be not only incredibly powerful to devastating effect, but also incredibly cruel, and are only ever used under very extreme circumstances. We know that the Separatists engineered a strain of the Blue Shadow virus during the Clone Wars, and the Empire also used them numerous times throughout its reign, particularly on worlds such as Geonosis, where the total defeat and extinction of the Geonosian species was a priority. However, it does beckon the question, why even the Empire used these weapons sparingly? We know how effective they could be from Geonosis, and surely it makes more sense economically alone to use these over creating, say, a super battle station. Now, we need to remember the fact that biological weapons, like in our own world, are abhorrent. They are more or less totally illegal, and the use of them is condemned by almost everyone in the galaxy for obvious reasons. And this is a key reason why Palpatine was possibly eager to have the sterilization of Geonosis covered up, because at the end of the day, if it became clear that the Empire was using these weapons, it would probably cause a lot of problems. Remember, the Senate is still a thing up until the completion of the first Death Star, and although it wasn't particularly powerful, it still helped keep people happy so that the illusion of freedom and democracy still existed. Simply put, no one could ever really rationally defend these weapons or their use. And this also brings us to the fact of the Imperial Military itself. As I said, most people see the use of these weapons as irredeemable and inexcusable, and there's going to be a lot of those in Palpatine's own military that would be against it. Sure, the end result isn't that much different from, say, using the Death Star. However, there's something about biological weapons that are naturally seen as dishonourable and needlessly cruel. I'd imagine that there would be many people in the Imperial military out there, such as Yularen for example, who would have a lot of reservations about using, say, deadly toxins and viruses to butcher their enemies. Ultimately, the Empire relies on obedience from its military commanders, and upsetting them by insulting their honour, if you will, and using these kinds of weapons just is not really going to be worth it for the most part. Remember, if Palpatine annoys enough of his Imperial commanders, then at the end of the day they can still launch a coup, and they have a lot of power. There are, of course, also some practical reasons. For one, they're very expensive to develop. The Star Wars galaxy is home to countless species and different environments, so creating a bioweapon that is lethal to all is going to be incredibly expensive and time-consuming. Not only this, but things can go wrong. It's one of these things that once you let it out, it's very difficult to get back in. You don't want to accidentally create a plague that sweeps across the entire galaxy. Take the Blackwing virus from Legends, for example. This zombie-like virus got out of hand, and very quickly. And if it was not addressed, it could have caused a lot of problems for the entire galaxy. However, finally, and possibly most importantly to why Imperials maybe feared these weapons, is, as I said, it's difficult to get them back in. Although they are very, very expensive to create, once they're engineered, it would probably be pretty easy to make more of it. It's just making that initial scientific discovery. What happens, therefore, when it falls into the wrong hands? Remember, the Empire's enemies were behind every corner. What happens when a lab or a shipment is hijacked and the specimens are stolen? What happened if a rebel scientist or terrorist reverse engineers these toxins? This is lethal. We know that there were rebels out there who wouldn't think twice about committing these heinous acts to strike out against the Empire. Saw Gerrera and his partisans, for example, did many malicious things during their fight against this autocracy. Simply put, this is too great of a risk. If they're overused, eventually it's almost inevitable that they will fall into the wrong hands and they will be used against the Empire itself. Realistically, rebels lacked the resources to be able to create their own biological weapons, but reverse engineer and steal the Empires? That's something they could do. And the fact of the matter is, there's very little the Empire could do to stop this. There's a whole story in Legends regarding this, and it's named the Gentis Plot. I actually covered this a couple of years back, so I will link the videos on screen now. This is when an Imperial officer used biological weapons on Coruscant to attack Palpatine in the Imperial Palace in a coup. And it almost worked. This is one of the closest times anyone has ever got to actually killing Palpatine. And if it wasn't for Vader and a few other loyalists, he would have died and Gentis' coup would have been successful. And this is really a testament to just how dangerous these bioweapons are. I think realistically, Palpatine feared them because not even he would be able to stop them if they got into the wrong hands. So ultimately, I think it's pretty easy to see why Palpatine and his Empire were not very keen on overusing these weapons. There was, simply put, far too many risks. It would cause outrage, and there was always a pretty strong possibility that they could be turned on them. But what do you guys think? Why did the Empire stay relatively clear of chemical weapons under most circumstances, and instead chose to rely on machines such as the Death Star to commit their atrocities? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching. I really do hope that you enjoyed this video. If so, please remember to like, share, and sub, as it is really appreciated and it helps the channel grow. Also, don't forget to follow me on Twitter at The Lore Guy and tick the bell to get regular updates. But most importantly, thank you so much for watching this video today. I really do hope that you enjoyed. Hope you're all staying safe, and I'll see you next time.